This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, in the last class, we have started with what code-based service implementation. Okay, so we have created one project. Okay, so we have created one project and we have implemented what service for what querying for what multiple records. Okay, so we have created one project and we have implemented the stub called as what get entity set. Okay, so this is a different server. The other server is not connecting. So let me quickly recreate the project. Okay, the other server is not connecting, so I'll quickly recreate the project. So it's very simple. Just copy that from the notes. So I'll go to scgwt code. We need to create what the project. So let me create the project. Zepm underscore project. Okay, Zepm underscore project. I'll just give some description. Code-based service implementation. Code-based service implementation. I'll save it in what local object. Okay, done. Project is created. Then as part of this, we need to create what one entity. So I'll right click on this. I'll say create. I'll give the entity name as product along with the entity type. Let us create the entity set also. Right, entity set is created. Under this entity set, we need to create some properties. So as per our last requirement, I want some what? I want some properties, 5 properties like product ID. So let me create product ID. Then I'll go for what? Type code, product ID, type code. Then I'll go for category. Then I'll choose what name. Then I'll choose what description.
हटा दो अपना कनेक्ट कर
Description.
हाँ अभी आवाज आएगा
Right, description. I'll select the checkbox is key property for the first property because we should have at least one key property. So I'll key the data type as edm.string, edm.string, done. This name also I'll choose it as edm.string. Description, let me choose it as edm.string. Okay, so I've created an entity with 5 properties. Let me check for the syntaxes. No syntax error. Let us generate the runtime artifacts. Yeah, runtime artifacts are what generated. Then what we need to do as part of the service implementation, we need to implement which step get entity set for querying what multiple records. So I'll right click on this. I'll just go to ABAP workbench because I want to do code-based service implementation. Okay, the so and so method has not yet been implemented. It takes a control to what data provider extension class. Okay, the method we need to implement is product set underscore get underscore what entity set. Okay, in order to implement this, we need to redefine this. Okay, so let me open this class in editable mode, put the cursor in that method and click on what redefine button. So when you click on as part of this, we need to implement the business logic to query for what multiple records. Okay, so we already implemented this in the last class. Let me copy it from the notes. Okay, I've already shared the notes. So just copy this. Right, I copied. So what is the logic we have written inside this method? We are first calling the function model bappy underscore epm underscore product underscore get underscore list, which returns the internal table containing what product details. We are looping that particular internal table and we are mapping the entries, mapping the records to the written internal table. So as part of this method, we have one written internal table et underscore entity set. Okay, this internal table contains your 5 entity properties. So we are mapping our corresponding fields to the written internal table fields. That's all. Let me save it. Check for the syntax error. Activate this. It's activated. Let me activate the data provider extension class. Then go back. Right. I'll regenerate the runtime artifacts. I'll regenerate the runtime artifacts. Then we need to register this particular what Odata service with the gateway client. So under service maintenance, I'll right click on this. I'll say register. This registration one-time job. Let me save it in the local object. Then it is registered. Then I'll right click on this. I'll say what maintain. Done. So if I click on this gateway client, it will launch that particular tool. Done. Okay. So how do we query for multiple records? First of all, let me check the metadata. So I'll choose a query option called as $metadata. When I execute, it has to return me the information related to our service. Yeah, it is returning the information into the service, the entity name, the key property, the data type of the properties, all those. Then let me query for multiple records. I'll choose the entity set is what? Product set. Then, so this is my entity set product set. Then the HTTP method is get. When I execute this, it is going to return me the list of what product details. Yeah. So I got the list of product details. Right. So if you scroll down, these are all the list of my product details. Okay. So let me take one product randomly. There is one product by ID as what HT-1022. So as part of my service URL, I'll give the product ID HT-1022. HT-1022. Let me click on what execute button. So here I'm trying to query for what single product. So as part of my service URL, I'm giving one value. I'm not giving the property name. So whatever the value I gave in the parenthesis, this value will be considered for the key property. Okay, so when I execute, then I got the status code as 501. I got the what error as what the method so and so is not yet been implemented. We have not implemented this particular method. So what is the requirement now? We need to implement this particular method. So how we will give the request here? This is the way you will give the request. Let me copy this. So when I give the request like this, okay, it is going to execute to which step? Executes a step. What is the stub it executes? Get entity. It executes a stub get entity. Okay, this stub, this stub executes a method. What is the method name? Entity set. What is the entity set name? Product set underscore get underscore what entity. It will try to execute the method product set underscore get underscore entity. This method is not yet implemented. That's why we got the error saying what method so and so is not been implemented in the data provider class. Okay, so we need to implement this method. So let me go back. Yes, Ramesh. We'll see that scenario also. Going forward, we'll create the entity with multiple key properties. Multiple key properties. So at that time, we must pass the values for what? Both the key properties. We'll see that scenario also. Right. So let me implement that particular method. So how do we implement? As part of service implementation, as part of our entity set, right click on the required stub. What is the required stub here? Get entity. Right click on this. I'll choose go to ABAP workbench. Then it is saying the information message. the operation so and so method has not yet been implemented, then it takes the control toward data provider extension class. It is in display mode. Let me switch to editable mode. So what is the method we need to implement here? The method we need to implement is product set underscore get underscore what entity. This is the method we need to implement. So if put the cursor in that method and click on what redefine method. Okay, redefine the method. So on the ALV toolbar, we have this particular button. I will just click on this. One second, please. Right, so it has taken the control to that method. Let me try to implement the logic. So what is the syntax? We'll send the URL. It is something like this. Let me close the previous notes. Yeah. So this is the way we send the request. Okay, this is my service URL and this is your entity set. As part of that entity set in the parenthesis, we'll give one value. This value by default will be considered for what? Key property. This value by default will be considered for what? Key property. So I need to read the key property value. Okay, we need to read the key property value which is sent through the URL. Based on this key property value, okay, based on this key property value, we need to get the product detail. So first of all, we should know how do we retrieve the product details. Okay, so the last class, for retrieving the multiple product details, we are calling one function model bappy underscore EPM underscore product underscore get underscore what list. Similarly, to retrieve a specific product details, we have one function model given by SAP. So if you go to function builder, yeah, this is for querying for what? Multiple products. For querying for single product, we have a function model bappy underscore EPM underscore product get detail. So we need to call this particular function module in our method implementation. Okay, so just like that, we cannot call the function model. We need to check the signature of the function model to understand the mandatory and what optional parameters, to understand the data type of what parameters. So if we go to import section, yeah, in the import section you can see, yeah, in the import section there is a mandatory parameter. There is a mandatory parameter product underscore ID. It is of what type? BAPI underscore EPM underscore product underscore ID. BAPI underscore EPM underscore product underscore ID. Let me double click on this. I want to understand whether this is a work area or whether this is a what internal table or whatever it is. Okay, let me double click on this. When I double click on this, it is a work area, and this work area, I mean, this is structure. It contains only one field. What is that field name here? Product underscore ID. So it is expecting what? Product ID, which is character of 10. So I need to prepare a work area. I need to prepare a work area which contains what? Product ID. If you pass that particular work area as the input parameter value, what does it do? It returns me, it returns me what? One work area which is of type structure what? Battery underscore EPM underscore product underscore header. Let me double click on this. Each product contains how many fields? 18 fields. Okay. Do we have any other parameters? Okay. These are all internal tables. We know they are what? Optional. So what is the signature of this function model? It takes a work area containing what? Product ID as input, and if the product is available, it returns what? The header data related to that particular product data in the form of what? Structure. Okay, let me try to execute this here. I'm trying to execute, so I need to pass a product ID. Yeah, I'll give some product ID which we know. What is the product ID I gave earlier? HT-1022. done. This is my product ID. Okay, before execution, we don't have any export parameters here. When I click on execute, yeah, it is returning me the export parameter, which is the work area, which contains what? Product details. Okay, these are my product details, a specific product details. Done. So let us try to call this function model in our what method implementation. So first of all, how we are going to send the URL, something like this. In the parentheses, we need to pass a value which is considered a value for a key property. So first what I have to do is, what we need to understand is how to read this particular value which is sent to the URL. Okay. So if you go to the method signature, yeah, this is the method signature. So if you go to signature of the method, done. You can see here there is one internal table. Okay, there is an importing parameter it underscore key underscore tab. So why I'm calling it as an internal table? By looking at this type, I can understand we have T here. We have T in between, nothing but what? Internal table. So it underscore key underscore tab, it is of type internal table. What is that? Name value pair. Let me try to double click on this. Yeah, you can see it is nothing but a table type. Table type is nothing but what? Internal table. Table for name value pairs. This table type is associated with the structure what? So on. So let me double click on this. That it contains two fields. Name is of type string, value is of type what? String. So what is the understanding? This parameter is an internal table containing how many fields? Two fields, name, value, pair. So why they gave it as in the form of internal table is just how I told you. As of now, our what entity contains only one key property, but going forward, we will see a scenario where you'll have what multiple key properties. So the user, the consumer might pass a value for what? Multiple key properties. So since we may pass multiple key property values, they gave that parameter in the form of what? Internal table. So the understanding is this is the parameter which is going to carry the input values sent through the URL. Okay, this is the parameter which will carry the input values sent through the URL. Okay, so let me try to read that particular parameter. Yeah, what I'll do is, yeah, in the method implementation, read the product ID, read the product ID uh, passed through what? URL, passed through URL. That. So in this case, I know that as a developer, I know that my entity contains only what? One key property. So I'm sure that I'm going to pass, the consumer has to pass only what? One input value. So keeping that in mind, I'll declare yes, Abhishek. Last class also I have given the breakpoint here. It has triggered. Na? Data W underscore, we can debug. It's a general normal ABAP code, so we can debug. Data W underscore key underscore tab. Okay, like line of it underscore key underscore tab. Data W underscore key underscore tab, like line of it underscore key underscore tab. Let me read it. So I'll say read table. What is the internal table parameter there? It underscore key underscore tab. Read table it underscore key underscore tab into what is the work area declared? W underscore key underscore itab with the key. Okay, so just now we have seen it contains what? Two fields, name, value, pair. So I'll say with the key, what is the one of the field? Name. With the key name equal to product ID. What is the name of the key property in my entity? Product ID. Okay, transporting value. So I'm trying to read the input value sent to the URL. Okay, with the key name of the property is what? Product ID. and the value I'm passing through what URL. Done. If size sub bars is equal to 0, okay, if the read is successful, what I have to do now? I give only tab. Okay. Okay, if size sub bar is equal to 0, I need to call this particular function module. What is the signature of the function module? It expects one mandatory parameter which is of type work area. And this work area contains a field called as product underscore ID. So I need to prepare the work area which is going to carry the product ID. So I'll just copy this. Yeah, here I would say prepare what input parameter for what BAPI function model. Prepare the input parameter for BAPI function model. What that input parameter is going to carry product ID. Done. Yeah. So let me prepare the data w underscore product underscore ID type. Okay, this is the work area which you have to pass to this particular function model. BAPI underscore EPM underscore product underscore ID, which contains a field. What is that field name? Product underscore ID. So here in our case, what is the work area which is going to hold the input value? W underscore key underscore tab. So I'll say W underscore product underscore ID hyphen. What is the field just now we observed? Product underscore ID equal to W underscore key underscore tab. W underscore key underscore tab hyphen what? Value. Done. So I'm just preparing the input parameter for the BAPI function model. That's all. Yeah. Okay, this is the internal table parameter which will carry the input values sent to the URL. I'm reading into a work area, and that work area value I'm assigning it to my what function model input parameter work area. Done. What is the next step now? No. Just to improve the performance of the read statement, so this internal table might contain 10 fields. This internal table might contain, here in this case, we know that it contains only two fields, name and what? Value. Okay. So to improve the performance of the read statement, generally we use what? Transporting addition. If I don't use the transporting addition, unnecessarily it will transport all the fields from the body of the internal table to work area. Every time we may not be interested in the entire record. We may be interested only in the specific fields. So just to improve the performance, I'm using what? Transporting value. If I don't use transporting value, it will transport the name and the value from the body to what? Work area. So just to improve, this is value is what? Value is one of the field in this internal table. We already observed now. If you see IT underscore key underscore tab, it is of type table type. Okay, so if I double click on this, it contains two fields. What are they? Name and what? Value. So out of those two fields, I'm interested to read only the value component. That's the reason I'm saying transporting value. Even if I don't use transporting also, we'll get the output, but our agenda is not to achieve the output. Our agenda is how better we write the code. That's the reason I'm using what? Transporting. Let me go back. Yeah. So call what? BAPI function model to read, call the BAPI function model to read what? Specific product detail. So if I pass the product ID as input, what does it do? It returns me work area. It returns me a work area of type what? BAPI underscore EPM underscore product underscore header. So let me copy this. So here also data W underscore product underscore header product underscore header type what BAPI underscore EPM underscore product header. Let me call the function one BAPI underscore EPM underscore product underscore what get underscore detail, and we need to pass the work area containing the product ID. So in this case, what is the work area we have prepared? This is our work area. So this is the work area W underscore product underscore ID, W underscore product underscore ID. Okay, it returns me the product details in the form of work area. So header data equal to what is the work area I declared? Local work area W underscore product underscore header, W underscore product underscore header. Done. Okay. So as of now, I'll just write the logic up to this point only. Let me check what happens. I'll save it. Check for the syntax error, no errors. Activate this. Okay, I'll put the breakpoint just to understand how the data is passed. So I'm putting the breakpoint here. Okay, breakpoint has been set. Let me activate the class. I'm activating the class, right? So it's activated. Done. Let me maintain the service. I click on this, maintain. I'll go to gateway client. Right. So here I'll say product set. So since I'm not passing any values, since I'm not passing any input value, the tool will have the intelligence which stub it has to execute. What is the stub it will execute? Get entity set, which is internally going to call a method which is going to return what? Multiple product details. So when I execute, it will return me the multiple product details. Okay, so you can see it is written the multiple product. One of the product is what? HT-1000. Remember that. Like this, we have many products. Okay, this anyway is working. Now what I'll do here randomly in my service URL in the parenthesis, I'll say HT-1022. HT-1022. Right? Execute this. Understood? I'm choosing the HTTP method as get. When I click on execute, done. See here it is stopping. Okay, I gave a breakpoint, it is stopping. So what are the input value I passed? Okay, in my context, in my entity, I know that we have only one key property. That's the reason in the parentheses I'm passing only what? One value. That value will come and sit in which internal table? IT underscore key underscore tab. So if you see IT underscore key underscore tab, it is having one record. See the entries in this internal table. Yeah. What is the name of the property? What is the name of the key property? Product ID. What is the value here? HT-1022. What are the names of the fields? Name and what? Value. Okay, done. Now I am reading that into my work area. So W underscore key underscore tab hyphen what name. What else? W underscore key underscore tab hyphen what value. Hyphen value. Both are blank as of now. So when I say F5, yeah, I got the value. See, I didn't got the name because as part of the read statement, I am using the addition what? Transporting value. So I'm just transporting the value only, value of the field from the body to what? Work area. Okay, if I don't use transporting, this is code only, na Abhishek? I hear the breakpoint and it is triggering. I didn't get you what you're trying to say. Okay, you want to use breakpoint keyword. Huh? Okay. Anyway, in the next execution, I'll use it. Right. So I'm using the what if statement to check whether read is successful or not. So when I say F5, done. I'm preparing a work area. So what is the product ID we are passing? HT-1022. What this function model will do, it takes this work area containing product ID as input and returns the work area which is going to carry out product detail. So when I say F6, done. It might have written. Let me double click on this. Yeah, you can see it is returning the details about that particular product. It is returning all the fields. Yeah, you can see it is having around 18 fields. It is returning all the 18 fields because that is the way the function model has been built. But we are not interested in all these 18 fields. No? Okay, let me say fit. So when I say fit, I got an error here. See, I got an error. What is the error I got? Earlier I got there saying that the method is not implemented. Now we implemented the method, but I'm getting a different kind of error. Resource not found for the segment what? Product. A resource not found for the segment product. Right? Simple reason is we have retrieved the product details, okay, but we are not returning that particular product details, okay. So in the last class also, for that method product set underscore get underscore entity set, we identified the parameter which is going to hold the multiple product details. So in that case it was the internal table. Here also, let me go back to my code. Data product extension class. After the method product set underscore get underscore entity, done. I'll use a breakpoint keyword, done. Yeah, now what I have to do is I got the product details. So I need to check to which parameter we need to map the product details. So if you see the signature of the method, this method has got many parameters. So in the last class, if you have seen, there was a parameter of type internal table, like et underscore entity set. Okay, let me just go back. Yeah, if I double click on this method, which we implemented earlier, get entity set, you can see what is the parameter we are using here, et. T indicates what is internal table, et underscore entity set. Type, it is referring to what? A structure, which is the product. So this is the parameter we are mapping in the last class, which is the internal table. But here if you see, the method product set underscore get underscore entity contains a exporting parameter which is of type work area. What is that? Er underscore entity, er underscore entity type what? In the model provider class, there is a type declaration what? Ts underscore product. Okay, ts underscore product contains how many fields? 5 fields. It contains what? 5 fields: product ID, type code, category name, and description. So by looking at this signature, we understand that I need to map my return values to this particular parameter, which is referring to your entity properties. What is the parameter name? Er underscore entity. So here I'll say, yeah, after receiving the product details, I'll say if w underscore product underscore what? W underscore product underscore header is not initial, if the work area is not blank, okay, what I need to do? I need to map, I need to what? Assign the retrieved product details. Okay, let me say assign the retrieved product details to the what? Return parameter. To the return parameter. Okay. So I cannot say move corresponding because here this contains what? 18 fields, and our return work area contains what? Only what? 5 fields. So better we write that assignment manually. Er underscore, what is the parameter name? Er underscore entity. Er underscore entity. So I'll say er underscore entity hyphen. What is the fields in our entity? Product ID is equal to what is that? W underscore product underscore header hyphen. Okay, what are the fields in this one? If you see the function model, it contains the field names as what? If you see the return parameter, the field names is product underscore ID, type underscore code, category name, and what? Description. Hyphen. what product underscore. I cannot use move corresponding because move corresponding will only check for what matching field names. Here the field names are also slightly different. With this product ID here it is a product underscore ID. Done. So let me map the rest of the fields. Here underscore entity hyphen. In our entity, the second field is what type code. In the function model level, the field name is type underscore code. Then the third field in our entity is category. Category. Here also it is category. One second. Category. Then this is name. This also is what name. Or description. Okay, description. That's it. So let me save it. Check the syntax again. Activate this. Activate everything. And just regenerate the runtime artifacts. Maintain the service. Okay, choose your entity set. Then in the parentheses, I'll give the value. I'll use something HT-1000 execute this. So it is going to the debugging mode. Yes, the part we know. I'll say fit. Yeah, I got the what product details, a specific product details. HT-1000. Only one product details I got. Suppose now I'll give HT-100. HT-100. Yes, Venkat, that's what I said at the beginning of the session. Going forward, we'll see a scenario where the entity will have what multiple key properties. Multiple key properties. So at that time, definitely we should pass more than one input value. In this case, our entity contains only one key property, one key field. One field can hold only one value. Na? One field can hold only one value. Any programming language, a variable can hold only one value. Here also same thing, right? So I'm giving HT-100. That's why let me execute this first. When I execute, okay, so I'm trying to read the data. Okay, so what is that value I'm passing here? 100, na? The value I'm passing is 100. So when I say F5, done. Okay, so read is successful. F8, yeah. But you can see here whatever the value I'm passing 100, I'm reading it, but that 100 I'm passing to the function model. Okay, so what it is giving here, see, 404 not found, resource not found for the segment what product, resource not found for the segment product. So this is the exception message. This is the exception message which is written by the system itself. Okay, but when I'm consuming it from my front end system, or when I consume this OData service in my front end application, it can be UI5, VB, Java, .NET, whatever it is, I should give a meaningful message to the user. Okay, so that part also we'll see going forward. Am I clear? This message is the standard exception message written by the system itself. Resource not found for the segment what product. But when I'm consuming it from the front end, so going forward, I'll try to consume this OData from the front end application. I'll give a user defined exception message. So by looking at that message, the end user should be able to understand that what are the product ID is passing that is not available. So here, since we have developed this what backend service, I understand this particular what exception message. But you have to keep always what end user in mind. The message should be what meaningful. So again, that will come in the coming sessions. Hope it's clear. Resource not found for the segment of product. So even if I use a breakpoint keyword, it is working. Abhishek, this is what we're trying to ask. Okay, any other doubts? Correct. Hmm. Yes, yes. Hmm. For that, if you observe this, just try to understand. If you see this function model, BAPI underscore EPM underscore product underscore get detail. First of all, if you are using this function model in your business logic, I repeat, if you are using this function model in your business logic, no way I can pass multiple values because it is clearly mentioned here that what are the product ID we are passing, what are the input parameters there, what are the mandatory input parameters there. This can hold only one product ID. So there is no question of passing multiple product IDs to this particular function model, right? But if you see the earlier function model, get underscore list, okay, get underscore list. If you see the import section, okay, there is no mandatory parameter. So if you see the last implementation, we are not passing any input values because there is no mandatory input parameter. But in this function model only you can see there are some optional internal tables. One of them is what select under select parameter product ID range table for what product ID. Sometimes the consumer, I mean to say the person who are consume that particular service is called what consumer. Consumer might pass what multiple product IDs, or I can say I may pass the select options as parameters, the select options as parameters. Okay, so in order to discuss this functionality, first of all, I should know I should know some query options related to that. Okay, we have some query options like dollar filter, dollar expand, all those things. Okay, so the implementation will be changing based on this particular query options. Is it clear? So as of now, we don't know anything about this particular query option. That's the reason I'm not passing that particular multiple product IDs. Okay. Is it clear? So we have many query options. So far, what are the query options we used? Sorry, what are the query options we used? I think I used dollar count. What this dollar count will do, it will return the number of entries. It will return the number of entries. So for this dollar count, we need not write any implementation logic. Okay, this will automatically return the count of records. Similarly, we have one query option called as dollar format to return that result in JSON format or in what XML format. So for this also, we don't require any implementation. Okay, and what else? We have seen what dollar metadata. Na? Dollar metadata also we are not writing any logic. No implementation is required. Okay, so going forwards, we'll see many query options like dollar order by, okay, or I may use dollar filter, okay, or I may use something dollar expand. Okay, so there are some query options for which explicitly we need to write the implementation logic. Okay, so anyhow, we'll be seeing these things in the next 1 week or so. Okay, all these query options we are going to discuss. Okay, yeah. Now what I'll do is, so there are many query options like dollar metadata. What else we have? Dollar top is there. Dollar top is there. What else? Dollar select is there. Okay, and what else? Dollar what? Top is there. Top is there. Skip is there. Okay. What else? Dollar inline count is there. Okay, so how do I know all these things means? I think in the first class I told you need to refer to a site called as odata.org. Okay, so this is a standard website for what OData service development. In this particular site, you'll get the list of all these query options. We call them as query options, or we call them as what? OData capabilities. OData capabilities. Okay, done. So now, yeah, 1 second. Let me just go back to my implementation. I'm just trying to maintain this. Done. I'll choose entity sets and choose product set. So I'm not passing any what input values. So the tool will have the intelligence which stub it has to execute. So when I execute this, done. You can see here. Okay, this. Yeah, if you see the product details, if you observe each product details, each product contains how many fields here? Product ID, type code, category, name and description. So you take any what product, each product is carrying how many fields? 5 fields. Now what I'll try to do is here. This is my what? Service URL. I'll say this is a syntax that is dollar question mark dollar. I'll say select is equal to try to understand. Overall my entity is having how many fields? My entity is having what? Some 5 fields. Product ID, type code, category, name and what? Description. So I'll say dollar select is equal to I'll say product ID, and I'll say name, product ID, comma name. Try to understand what is the query option I'm using here. Question mark dollar select is equal to product ID, comma name. Let me try to execute. I'm trying to execute. Okay, so I got in green color 200 successfully executed. If I scroll down, but if you observe any product here, what I got? Product ID I got, name I got. Again, product ID I got what? Name. Understood? So what is the meaning? I'm filtering the fields here. Understood? So did I wrote any logic for this? No, there is no logic required for this. Again, for this dollar select also, no code implementation is what required. But there are some query options for which you have to write the code. You understand the purpose of dollar select. So in the entry point of view, okay, you may ask the query options. Okay, what are the list of query options that we know that we have used? We should be able to tell that query options. We should be able to tell which query option contains default implementation, which query option requires for explicit what implementation. Okay, now I'll do one more thing here. Mm, okay, okay, right. Just observe here. I'm removing this. Product set is fine. Now I'll say, okay, first of all, let me try to execute in the same way. I'm not passing any what input values, or I'm not passing any query options. But I got the product. Okay, so just see the first product here. Let me check the first product. What is the first product I got here? HT hyphen what 1000. HT hyphen 1000 is my first product. Okay. What is the next product here? HT-1001 it seems. Okay. What is the next product here? HT-1002 it seems. Okay. Done. HT-1003 done. Now what I'll try to do is here I'll say that is that here. In the query option I'll say product set. I'll say dollar what? Order by. Dollar order by is equal to, okay, and what is the query option is in dollar order by. Okay, I will say product ID. I'll say descending. I'll say descending. Okay, so let me try to execute this. Hello, hello, hello. Then again I got it in what? 200 only. I mean to say it is successfully executed. See the sequence of my products. What is the first product I got? Again what? 1000. Again I got what? 1001. So I got it in the normal ascending order only now. But what I want to get the data in the sorted order of what? Product ID in descending order. In the sorted order of a product ID in the descending order. So what I'm trying to say is we require implementation for this. We require this implementation. Okay. So if you go back to your method implementation, what is that method? If you go to data provider extension class, status code means status code is nothing but in our ABAP we have size of RC. Na? What is the purpose of size of RC? To check the execution status of what? ABAP statements. Here also status code will what? Will hold the execution status of your request. Status code will hold the execution status of your request. Okay, if it is 200 means your request is successfully executed. Like that, we have in many status codes. Yeah, if you see this particular method, product set underscore get underscore entity set. In the URL, what I did, I passed the order by query option. Na? No, we don't have it. We have tried the logic for that. We have tried the logic for that. Because understanding is it returns a response in the browser. Na? It returns a response in the browser. In the browser, do we have that option of sorting and filtering? No, we don't have. Okay, so we need to write the code manually. So if you see the signature of this method, okay, you can see here there is a parameter what? It underscore what? Order. It underscore order. So I need to consider this parameter. I need to consider this parameter. Okay, so we have to write the logic in such a way that I need to address all these parameters. Okay, as a consumer, I may use the service URL without order by class, or I may use the service URL with what? Order by class. I don't know that. So I have to check whether my request contains these values or not. So we are going to see this implementation in the next class. How to achieve what? Order by functionality. Just like what? In a select query, we use what? Order by now. If you want to retrieve the data in what? Sorted order, we'll go for what? Order by. And as part of this order by only, I think we use what? Order by descending. In the select statement itself, we use it. So if you want to implement this functionality, we need to consider a parameter called as what? It underscore order. And just now I told, as of now we are passing only one value. If you are passing multiple values, select options functionality. So we should know how to implement select option functionality in our OData service. So like this, in the next 1 week to 10 days, we will be covering what most of these particular parameters. Clear? So any questions for today, please ask me. So the next 1 week, we'll be seeing different query options. We'll see how to work with multiple entities, how to navigate from one entity to another entity, how to exchange the data between two entities, how to work with the images, just like scripts, smart forms kind of thing in ALV reporting. We display what pictures here also. Okay, we need to deal with the pictures because the response every time may not return only the text. It may return the raw data. Raw data means pictures comes under what? Raw data. So we should know how to deal with what images in this OData service. So in the next 1 week we'll be seeing all those things. Any questions for today? Please ask. Yeah, Masin, just now I told you now. If you want to pass multiple values, if you want to pass multiple values, that's why, see, always remember, blindly we should not consume the service. We cannot pass whatever you want. I repeat this point. We cannot pass whatever you want. What is the first thing I told? Before you start consuming, before you start consuming a service, either in the front end applications or directly in the back end system, we need to get the information about the service. In the sense, we should know, we should know the information about the service by using the query option or dollar metadata. So if you query for dollar metadata, okay, you can see here already saying here how many key properties are there. Only one key property. So when there is no one, when there is only one key property, the question will not arise how to pass multiple values. Okay. So going forward, what I'll do, I'll create an entity with multiple key properties. So at that time, we have the possibility to what multiple values. Am I clear? So in this case, if I try to pass multiple values, it will give me error. It will give me what error. Okay. If you want, I'll just show you that. I'll say product set in the parentheses. I'll say ht hyphen 1000. Okay, I'll say ht hyphen 1001. So let me check whether it will interpret this or not. I don't know whether it will interpret this or not. So I'm just trying to pass like this, right? How many values I'm trying to pass? Two values, separating with what? Comma. Product set ht hyphen 1000, comma ht hyphen 1002. Let me execute this. Good. Okay, so what is the status code I got? 400 I got. What is the error message I got? An invalid key predicate. So the tool is saying that you have only one key. Why are you passing multiple values? That is the meaning. Is it clear, Master? So this is the way you pass. But in order to interpret this, your entity should have what? Multiple key properties. So that scenario we'll see going forward. Right? My answer is yes, we can pass multiple values, but I cannot pass for this entity because this entity clearly saying that we have only one key property. That's why I cannot. If I try to pass also, it will not interpret this particular URL. Okay, invalid key predicate I got. Yes, input values are case sensitive, Venkat. Yes, they are case sensitive. Rajendra, how to call IDOCs in OData service? I didn't get you.
So means how
OData.
to call this from like outbound or inbound IDOC, how we'll call through data service? Is there any particular
No,
method?
no. Directly we cannot what uh, invoke IDOCs from our OData service. We cannot. What you are doing is this
Okay,
OData
so to use
service.
IDOC,
Sorry.
I think it's difficult to fetch data from third-party system through O service or
No, it is not difficult. Here in this
okay
case,
through IDOC.
it is picking the data from SAP system. See,
Yes, yes,
first
yes.
of all, here the comparison is different, Rajendra. IDOC is for what? To exchange the data
Exchange
between
data.
what two
Yes,
systems, right?
yes.
OData service is what? To perform CRUD operations. To
Okay,
perform CRUD operations, like what? I should able to read single entry. I should able to read multiple entries. I should able to insert an entry. I should able to update an entry. I should able to delete an entry. So OData service mainly used for performing database operations. IDOC
okay,
is for what? Exchange the data
exchange.
between the two systems. So there's no comparison first of all.
Okay, sure. I got it. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, Venkat, answer is yes. Data is input is case sensitive. Not only input values, even the property names also they are case sensitive. The property names are also case sensitive. See, as of now, my entity contains only one property na. So if I give like this, it will understand that this is the value passed to your key property. But going forward, we'll see a scenario where you'll have what multiple key properties. So at that time, I must specify the property name also. As of now, we are directly passing the value. But if your entity is having multiple key properties, I need to tell the tool which value is for which property. So I need to mention what? Even the property name also. These property names are also what? Case sensitive. So property names are case sensitive and the property values are also what? Case sensitive. Done? Any other questions? Venkat, is it clear? Okay. Done. So tomorrow what we'll do is, tomorrow onwards, for the next 2 3 days, we will try to implement order by functionality and select options functionality and how to deal with the entities containing what multiple key properties. Okay, sure. That's I'll wind up. We'll continue tomorrow.